Among my friends, I used to be the guy who was perpetually single. I had hookups and a few fuck buddies, but it reached the point where my friends, male and female, plus one non-binary, stopped making jokes when they stopped seeming like jokes. So they were all as thrilled as I was when I got a second date with Alice 8 months ago, and we've been seeing each other ever since. This probably won't come as a shock, but Alice makes more money than me. She doesn't take me on vacations to Greece or anything, but she does like to spoil me. Once, she insisted on taking me shopping for a few new outfits. It's probably not the kind of clothes I would have gotten myself, but she paid for them and nearly tore them off when we got back to her place. So I can't complain. I told my friend that story and he laughed. Another time, Alice asked me if I could shave more. My facial hair grows in pretty fast, and I'm lazy and introverted. So I usually clean up about once a week. I figured it was a fair ask, considering she's the one kissing my face. So I got into the habit of shaving more. Same thing for pubic hair. This all came up when I was out with a group of friends for drinks a week back. We were pretty comfortable with each other. So one friend asked me if I had styled my pubes for Valentine's Day. I laughed and explained the joke when people asked for clarification. A few people didn't laugh like the rest of us. And one girl asked if that's why I started shaving more often. I confirmed this, and she told me it was a sign of abuse that Alice was making me change my identity. I clarified that she wasn't making me do anything. I did it because appearance-wise, Alice's opinion on me is really the only one that matters at the moment. I mentioned that there was a hairstyle that she suggested for me, and a lot of friends seem to agree that that's a classic sign of abuse. I began to get upset and I had to leave early. There are a few friends who I haven't spoken to since then, and I haven't mentioned this to Alice. My friends and I never discuss this aspect of dating, but to me, it makes sense that if Alice is the one who spends so much time looking at me, it's fair that I take her opinion into account, especially when she's paying for everything. One of my best friends who was with us that night says that she's worried I'm being taken advantage of due to my inexperience, which really hurt because she used to really push for me to meet girls. She's had experience with being in an actual hurtful relationship, but that confuses me even more as to how she could think Alice is like that. Anyways, I just want to get opinions on this. Am I being a pushover or are my friends out of line? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your friends are just having an issue with change. As long as Alice isn't demanding that you do things you don't want to do, then it's not abuse or her being controlling. And it doesn't sound like that's the case. Your response to them was perfect. If you don't mind making the changes, then there really isn't an issue. I buy my husband clothes every once in a while that he wouldn't normally wear himself, but that I think look very handsome on him. Humans are creatures of habit. Switching things up every now and then is fun, as long as both parties are happy and willing. It sounds like you are. Comment 2. Are you happy with the changes you've been making? From what you've described, buying you clothes and asking you to shave more, to me, doesn't constitute hurtful and controlling behavior. If you are unhappy making these changes, and if she asked you to make a change you weren't comfortable with, would you feel okay about turning her down? Do you think she'd react poorly? If you're both happy, then I don't really see an issue. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around. So let me tell you what's been going on. After that whole mess with my friends accusing Alice of being controlling, things just spiraled. I thought it was all going to blow over, but nope. One of my buddies, the one who's always had a bit too much to say, decided to confront Alice about it. He cornered her after work one day, telling her she was messing with my head. Alice came home fuming, asking why my friends were getting in our business. I was mortified. I hadn't even told her about the accusations. Then, as if that wasn't enough, my friend's girlfriend, who's also part of our group, started spreading rumors that Alice was cheating on me with some guy from her work. I didn't believe it, not one bit. But it got back to Alice, and she was livid. She demanded to know why my friends were trying to sabotage our relationship. I had no answers. In the middle of all this, my job got shaky. My boss had been on my case for weeks, and with the stress at home, I slipped up big time. I missed a crucial deadline, and that was it. I was out. No job, no income. And now I had to lean on Alice even more. Alice was supportive, said we'd get through it together. But I could tell something had shifted. She started coming home later, her phone was always buzzing, and she was more distant. I didn't want to believe the rumors, but doubt crept in. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I went through her phone while she was in the shower, and there it was, messages to some guy, just as flirty as could be. I felt like such a fool. When she came out, I confronted her, and it all came out. She'd been seeing him for a month, said she needed someone who wasn't a project. That stung. I moved out the next day, back to my old place, which I'd been renting out to a friend. He was cool about it, said he could crash with his girlfriend for a while. I was grateful, but man, it was rough going back to that small, dingy apartment after living with Alice. My friends tried to be there for me, but it was awkward. The same people who'd warned me were now trying to comfort me. I appreciated it, but it was hard not to feel resentment. They were right, but it didn't make the betrayal feel any less bitter. Just when I thought I'd hit rock bottom, my ex-boss called. He'd heard about the breakup and surprisingly offered me my job back. Said he knew I was going through a tough time and was willing to give me another chance. I was shocked, but took it immediately. I needed something to go right. Back at work, I kept my head down, worked my tail off. I was determined to show them, and maybe myself, that I wasn't a screw-up. Slowly, things started to look up. I even started hanging out with my friends again, the ones who'd stuck by me through everything. Then, out of the blue, Alice's new guy showed up at the bar we all hang out at. He was drunk, spouting off about how Alice was too high maintenance, and he was done with her. I felt a weird mix of satisfaction and pity. I didn't wish her ill, but it felt like karma had come full circle. So here I am picking up the pieces. I'm still single, but maybe that's for the best right now. I'm focusing on work and rebuilding the trust with my friends. It's not easy, but I'm getting there, one step at a time. Thanks for reading. My partner complains about burned potatoes and turns cold, so I catch him cheating and serve him in papers in front of his mistress. I, 39-year-old female, just cooked dinner, as I do every evening, for my partner, 38-year-old male, and our daughter, 1-year-old female. The potatoes came out a bit burned on the bottom. My partner sits at the table and helps himself to potatoes and says, "Oh no, these are burned. They're basically inedible." They weren't inedible. You could eat most of each one and take the burned bit off, annoying, but not totally inedible. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I followed the recipe but think, I'm not used to this new oven yet. Sorry about that." We eat in silence. My partner sighs and says, "Ugh, I was really looking forward to the potatoes. It's like a massive part of the food." I said, there's still enough food? Sausages, bread, beans, eggs, etc. He grumbles. We eat in silence. "Oh, I'm really sad now," he says. Pause. "You just need to turn them over when they're cooking," he says. I nod. "Yeah?" He says, "You just need to turn them." "Okay, I will next time," I say calmly, really hoping we can get off the topic of the potatoes. He gets up to get water or salt or something. A couple of minutes pass. He sighs occasionally. "You just need to turn them, love," he says again. "Look," I say, getting annoyed. "I'm very sorry I burned the bottom of the potatoes. I'm sorry I've ruined your meal. I promise I will do my best never to do it again." He gets annoyed and starts telling me I'm being childish with my overblown apology. "But I don't know what you want from me," I say. I said sorry. I said I'd turn them over next time. But it seems that's not enough for you. So I feel like you want me to beg for forgiveness or something. He gets angrier and says, "Ugh, are you still going on? Still going on about it?" I'm baffled. "Hang on, me still going on? You're the one who... Why are you still going on? Why are you being so childish?" I'm internally screaming. I just don't get it. I don't understand what's going on here and what I'm doing wrong. I genuinely don't know what he wants. It really does feel like he wants me to accept. I've committed some grave, heinous error and deeply upset him and feel terrible about it or something. But I just burned a bit of potatoes. I said sorry in a normal way that was appropriate for the offense. And did he thank me for making dinner? No, of course not. It's so odd. At times like this, he feels like a stranger, and I don't feel okay about it. I feel sad and confused, and I don't know if it's me or him. Any advice about how to have handled this differently, other than not burning the potatoes, in case it's relevant? We both work. I work from home and look after our daughter. He works in an office and looks after our daughter evenings and most of the weekend while I work. So it's not like my only job is to get the dinner right or anything. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I would smile and say, "Yes, I'm wrong." Then I wouldn't cook dinner for him the next night. Instead, I would cook for you and the kids. When he asks why, I would say, "Well, you told me how incompetent I am at cooking, so I didn't want to fail you again. Here's your portion. Cook it to your perfection." Comment 2. My husband used to do this. I stopped cooking for him a year ago. He doesn't complain anymore. LOL. If I even get a whiff of that mess, I tell him, "You're welcome to make your own meal." Now, for the update, thank you for tuning in again. So, after the potato incident, things just kept spiraling. My partner started getting picky about everything. Like one time, I accidentally shrunk his favorite shirt in the dryer. He made such a big deal out of it. You'd think I'd sold his car or something. I mean, I get it was his favorite. But it was just a shirt, right? Then there was this huge blow-up over our budget. He found out I'd spent a little extra on groceries, organic stuff, for the baby. He went off about how we're supposed to be saving up. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't listen. It felt like he was just looking for things to be mad about. But here's where it gets really messed up. He started staying late at work. Said he had a big project. I believed him, of course. But then, one of my friends said she saw him out at a bar with some woman from his office. I didn't want to believe it, but it ate at me. So I asked him, and he just brushed it off. Said they were just coworkers grabbing a drink. But the way he said it, I knew he was lying. I was so mad I could barely look at him. But I had to know for sure. So one evening, when he said he was working late again, I drove by the bar, and there he was, laughing with that same woman. I felt like such a fool. I didn't confront him right there. I went home, put the baby to bed, and waited. When he got home, I asked him straight up if he was cheating. He denied it at first, but I told him I saw him. Then he broke down, admitted it was just a few times, said it didn't mean anything. I was so hurt, I told him he needed to leave for a while. He packed a bag and went to stay with a friend. I was alone with the baby, trying to figure out what to do next. I talked to my sister, and she said maybe this was a wake-up call for both of us. She suggested counseling, said it might help us figure things out. I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to just give up on us, So I called him, said we should try to work it out for our daughter's sake. He agreed, said he was sorry, that he'd do whatever it takes. We started going to sessions, and it was rough at first. Lots of tears and hard truths. But it felt like we were getting somewhere, like we were actually talking for the first time in ages. The counselor gave us homework, like date nights and talking about our feelings. It felt kind of silly, but we did it. And slowly things started to change. He was more attentive, helped out more with the baby. And I felt like I could actually say what was on my mind without him getting defensive. Then, last week, he surprised me. He came home with a new shirt, just like the one I'd shrunk, and said it was water under the bridge. He even made dinner that night, and guess what? He burned the potatoes. But we just laughed about it. It felt like we were finally getting back to being us. It's not perfect, and I know we've still got a lot of work to do. But it feels like we're on the right track. We're talking about renewing our vows, kind of like a fresh start. I'm cautiously optimistic. It's been a tough few months, but I think we might just come out of this stronger. Thank you for reading. My boyfriend wanted an open relationship and got a coworker pregnant. But the baby wasn't his. So I exposed his cheating to everyone and watched as he lost everything. My boyfriend, 24-year-old male, and I, 25-year-old female, have been together for almost 5 years. We love each other very much, and honestly, I never thought things like this would happen. A few months ago, I discovered that he was talking to a female coworker and creating a connection. From what I understood and saw in the messages between them, they were talking about me and our relationship, but nothing bad. Basically, what happened was that my boyfriend was expressing how much he loved me and wanted to create a life with me. He also mentioned feeling guilty about being friends with his coworker because she was in love with him. I only discovered this after he stopped responding to her since she was trying to break us up. After that, we had a conversation and he shared with me that he would like to try having intimacy with other people and wanted to open our relationship. I accepted to try it out to make him happy. He mostly wanted to see me having intimacy with other men and women, and also wanted to have threesomes, so I got on Tinder and talked with other people while he watched and sometimes masturbated. However, after he finished, he would typically want me to close the app and said that he felt uncomfortable with it. I was honest with him and told him that I would try this out, but I'm an emotional person and can't really have intimacy without emotion. This made him super sad and he cried, telling me he wanted to stop this. I agreed and told him that we could just do role-playing and fantasize about those things, but we shouldn't actually bring another person into our relationship. I thought that was the end of it, but the other day while we were being intimate, he told me how much he wanted to have intimacy with a girl he saw at a coffee shop. I was not expecting that and stopped and started crying. Now I'm not so sure about what to do. Honestly, I love him and want to be with him, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm not good enough. Yes, I talk to him and he tells me that he loves me and wants to marry me, and that these fantasies are purely carnal. I'm not sure how to express this in English. Well, I just find myself going into a deep depression and don't know what to do, how to feel, and if this is going to be the end. Is this normal for men? Edit. This fantasy with the barista was about a threesome and how much he wanted to do it with me and her at the same time. Another thing that I would like to note is that he told me that he absolutely hates this thought and needs help because after he finishes, he doesn't think about other women or threesomes anymore and feels disgusted. Lastly, he thinks that he has a corn addiction or a masturbation addiction. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The fact that he makes you feel like you are less than or not enough indicates he is no longer the man for you. To tell you he wants to sleep with another woman while you are intimate is disrespectful. He will slowly chip away at your self-esteem until you become a shell of yourself, or you just tolerate him cheating. I would be surprised if he does not cheat eventually, but I would not be hanging around to find out. Comment 2. Right, he loves you so much he wants to have intimacy with other women. Sure sounds like true love to me. What is the problem? What should you do? Keep paying his rent, keep paying his bills, and giving him money and all the intimacy he wants, so he can keep treating you like trash. That is the dream, right? Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things took a busy turn last week. Remember how my boyfriend was talking to that coworker who had feelings for him? Turns out, she didn't back off like I thought. She showed up at our place, crying, saying she was pregnant and it was his. My world just stopped. He denied it, of course, but the doubt was there, eating at me. We argued for hours until he finally convinced me it was a lie. A desperate move because she couldn't have him. I wanted to believe him, so I did. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day, his phone kept buzzing with messages from her. He ignored them, but I couldn't. I checked his phone while he was in the shower and saw messages from her with pictures of a positive pregnancy test. I confronted him again and he lost it and smashed his phone against the wall. He said he'd do anything to prove it wasn't true. We decided to get a paternity test done. While we waited for the results, things got even more messed up. My best friend, who's been my rock through all this, started acting weird. She was distant, always on her phone, and I caught her whispering on calls, then I found out why. She was the one who told my boyfriend's coworker when we were out, so she could come over and drop her pregnancy bomb. My best friend betrayed me. I couldn't believe it. She said she did it because she thought I deserved better than him, but it just felt like a stab in the back. The paternity test came back negative. He wasn't the father. Relief washed over us, but the damage was done. Trust was broken, and not just between me and him, but with my best friend too. I felt alone, like everyone was just out to get me. And just when I thought we could start healing, another bomb dropped. My boyfriend lost his job because of the drama with his coworker. She told everyone at work about the situation, twisting the story, making him the bad guy. We were already tight on money, and this just made everything worse. He started going out more, saying he needed to clear his head. I understood, or at least I tried to. But then I heard from a mutual friend that he was seen at a bar, cozying up with some girl. When I asked him about it, he said they were just talking, that he needed someone to vent to. I wanted to scream, to tell him that's what I was there for, but I didn't. I just nodded and pretended it was okay. Now I'm sitting here, wondering if I'm just fooling myself. He says he loves me, that he wants to marry me, but his actions tell a different story. I feel like I'm holding onto a fantasy, but I can't let go. I love him, despite everything. Maybe that makes me weak, or maybe it just makes me human. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.